Okay, welcome to our sixth episode of Coffee Shops and Toys for the Tekno EB410 build. We are approaching the end of the line as far as the build goes. From the last episode till now, we have taken the time to assemble all of the shocks, incorporating the instructions with the exception of the caps. The nylon caps that come with these shocks are really quite crappy, and I do not, if you build this car, I do not suggest that you stay with those aluminum caps, or those nylon caps, that you go with the aluminum caps, which you can see here. The aluminum caps are much better. They thread on really easy. They come pre-drilled. They work in conjunction with the titanium standoffs, the shock mounts that we have up on that carbon fiber tower. They work really well with all of that. Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. That is one thing that you should definitely, if you don't upgrade anything else, definitely get those caps. You're going to want those. The build itself, once we got through all of the shock construction, the build of the shocks, they went relatively easily. The instructions that are laid out in the book that comes with the kit is very detailed, makes it quite easy. You do want to follow the instructions meticulously. You want to make sure that you're bleeding the shocks correctly. You want to follow all of the steps. Very concise in how to emulsify the oil, how to do your dual bleed on the shocks, and everything that pertains to assembling these shocks correctly. If you do it correctly, the shocks come out very nice. They're very smooth. They're very large, and they work really well. I'm very pleased with it. From moving on from the shocks, we went ahead and moved into the bag L section here on page 20. This is of course going to be for the servo mount, which we didn't use because we're not standing our servo up. We're laying that servo down. Actually, that was one of the very first things that we did at the beginning of this build, was to mount that servo. From here, and I also noticed that I mounted the servo horn. I must have been tired. I mounted that servo horn backwards. It's an easy fix, but egg on my face. Mounted that, so I got to turn that servo horn around on the servo, but that's an easy fix. From there, we moved on to the motor mount, which you can see here. The motor mount is an excellent fit. It is very snug, very finely machined aluminum. It slides into the center diff mount effortlessly. It without any slop at all. It is a precise fit, which is very nice. Then I use the stainless steel screws for all the way around to connect the motor directly to the mount, and then connect the mount to the diff support, the aluminum diff support. Rock solid, absolutely rock solid. Very happy with that. Easy to adjust. went ahead with a 27 tooth pinion against the 81 stock spur gear. And of course, we slide that in there. Throw a piece of paper between those two between the spur gear and the pinion gear, and set our spacing and go ahead and lock it down, and then pull the paper out. That way, of course, that's an old school trick. It works very well for spacing the pinion. If anybody knows of a better way to do it than that, please leave a comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear alternate ways of setting the spur to pinion gear mesh. But the paper trick is one that I've used for years, and it seems to, be a fail-safe. It works well. So from there, there were several aspects in the build. As you can see in the picture here, the motor mount, it just literally slides right into the center diff support. It's guided quite well. It has absolutely no slop in it at all. It's rock solid. Very pleased with that. And then from there, we had to position our electronics. A lot of the instructions down through here are for the stock chassis, so we kind of skipped a lot of this and moved right on into, and we went ahead and put the electronics up front, in front of the battery, the shorty pack. So the Hobby Wing, the XR10 that I have, that is sitting almost all the way forward. I put the cap pack right behind that after I got the sensor cable installed, and run the sensor cable all the way back and around over here to the motor. And then in front of the cap pack, I stood on end the receiver. Makes it a little bit challenging to get things plugged in there, but I was running out of room. I was running out of room and options as far as how to mount this correctly. And I figured this was the best option for two reasons. First of all, it provided extra space between the battery and the receiver, but it also provided a nice pinch between the diff, aluminum diff support and the receiver. And I took the antenna down through, and I just backfilled in here with a whole bunch of my favorite adhesive, which is this stuff. I just love goop. I use goop for everything when it comes to RCs. It is the best. I use it for repairing, cracked bodies. I use it for stuff like this, filling in there. I also put the goop. If you can see it, let me see if I can move those wires out of the way. You can see it. I used it to backfill in here to hold that servo wire in place, and that is, believe me when I tell you, that is nice and rock solid. It's not going anywhere. But I used that goop in here to hold that antenna housing. With the antenna, I used my heat gun to just warm up that housing a little bit after I got the antenna in place, and just very, very gently bent it over. And once we get our 30mm fan, for the motor, that we'll install right here on this carbon fiber bracer, which is very nice. I will just, put a very small nylon tie to hold it down right there, and we're good. And once that stuff dries, that is rock solid. Goop is the best. If you've never used it, I highly recommend it. It is phenomenal for securing things, for waterproofing. I've actually used it in conjunction with sticky tape you know, where I'll apply the sticky tape to the bottom of an ESC and then run a bead of the goop around the bottom edge to kind of waterproof that tape. So that the tape holds really well, but if it gets really wet, it's not going to destroy that tape. It's not going to get in. No moisture is going to get in and destroy that tape. That goop provides a wonderful, almost like a caulking around the bottom of that ESC. Works fantastic. It also, as I mentioned before, it is phenomenal for repairing Lexan. You know, the underbodies of Lexan. I have actually, I can show you. On one of my old X-Max, this is a basher body, even though it may be dusty. It doesn't look all that bashed, but as you can see here, the goop is phenomenal for repairing cracks and for supporting areas where it gets weak. That goop is just the best. It really is. Modern adhesives are a godsend. So I went ahead and excuse me, I went ahead and got our tires mounted. One of the things with the tires that I picked up as a tip, I don't think that it's possible to get these too clean. Especially when you're gluing things. So I went ahead and just used warm soapy water to clean the rubber. And then dried it out, made sure, I used a hair dryer to make sure that it was moisture free. Went ahead and installed my foam, but then I went around the rubber again and around the rims with just denatured rubbing alcohol. And that provided a very, very clean surface to use the CA glue. To glue the tires, and it worked out really, really well. I think that's absolutely a necessity when it comes to these kinds of tires. Is you want to make sure the rubber and the plastic rims, the wheels, are as clean as you can possibly get them. Bringing them right out of the bag like this, they are. They're from the factory, and they are dirty. A little bit of warm soapy water, just a few minutes, to clean them and dry them, goes a long, long way. And then just very thin CA glue, to glue them up, and patience, letting it dry, and they seem to be decent. Now, of course, we'll test that with runs and see to make sure that the bead holds, but it should be okay. That's one of the reasons why I bought a second set of rubber and wheels to have a spare backup set for the car. Not expensive, wheels and rubber for cars like this are relatively cheap. It's not all that expensive to have an extra set, so we went ahead and did that. Excited about this battery pack. This is the Orion shorty pack. The thing that's interesting about this pack is that it is not a 7.4. It is 110C, but 5,000 milliamp, 2S, right? But it's a 7.6. Now that may not seem like a lot, but it can and often, and I believe will, provide a little bit of extra punch out of the gate. So I'm excited about the Orion competition pack. I've never used this particular battery before. It came highly recommended, so I'm kind of excited about what's available. And you can see some of the different available packs that you can get from them. All the way up to 4S, from 1S all the way to 4S. And the ones, I've got another one that I'll be picking up today, actually, an exact duplicate to this, so that I have an extra battery. Accepts a reasonable charge. For those of you that aren't in the racing world and wondering about it, it does use a special cable that plugs directly, this is a charging cable, plugs directly into the battery, positive, negative, but also has this little tiny, if I can show it to you there, little tiny balancing cable. And I believe the positive lead also has part of the balancing cable as well. This charging cable, sorry for the video, this charging cable is it's a specialty cable just for these shorty packs, but it works in conjunction with my my bat safe really well. So you know, I just plug in the 4mm bananas into my ports here, and then the balance lead into the subsequent balance connection that I have coming through, and I can charge 2, 3, and 4S in here. Very easy to set up and charge. No problem at all. The last thing that we'll talk about today, I haven't had a lot of time with this yet, but I'm looking forward to actually using it, is the Hobby Wing Wi-Fi module, the Wi-Fi Express module that is available through Hobby Wing. I have watched some videos on it, and it looks like it will prove to be an excellent addition to this car, allowing you to program your ESC to a myriad of different calibration settings, different programmable settings for the ESC. All kinds of available settings for it, which you can custom tweak it, which is really nice. I downloaded the app for this. It's available through the App Store for iTunes or for your iOS devices. I'm assuming that it is also available for Android devices. Can't imagine that it wouldn't be. But it is, in comparison to using a laptop or even a large programming card, this thing is, I mean, you wouldn't want to leave it in the car, but you could just about leave it in the car. I mean, it's that small. It's about 1 inch on the side. It's just, and I think that for connecting it to your phone and through the app on your phone, it'll make for on-the-fly programming of your ESC or changing settings on your ESC at the track a breeze. So, and I'm actually going to be getting I've got a motor analyzer that is coming, and I'm planning on actually hooking the motor that I purchased, which is the you can see it. It is the, can't really see it all that well, but at any rate, it is the V10. There it is. It is the V10 10.5 Hobby Wing Pro, and it has a timing feature built onto it. I am a little hesitant at just running this straight out of the box. I think that putting it on a motor analyzer and adjusting it out to making sure your timing is punching in at somewhere between 5.5 to 6.5 amps, somewhere in that neighborhood, it would be a very good thing, just to make sure that it's behaving correctly. I think it's probably a mistake to assume that these motors from the factory are tuned. I think that's folly. I think that's a mistake. So it is, to me, it is worth having that motor analyzer just to make sure that the motor is operating at the spec that you want it. Other than that, this has been a little bit longer video. I do have a setup station that'll be coming fairly soon, and we'll be adjusting the ride for the vehicle. making sure that the toe and the camber, the caster, all of that are on track. I have, just with my own straight edges and eyeballing, I've managed to get the wheels in line pretty close, but that's just by eye. And it's not terribly difficult. If you have a fairly nice straight edge, I have a couple of nice straight edges. Coming out of the cabinet industry, I have a lot of tools like that, but this, I basically just take and set the straight edge on the wheel there, and align the wheels, and then adjust the turnbuckles to get it as close as possible. Now, with the setup station, it's going to make that whole process moot, because you will actually apply the tools directly to the hubs. You bolt them directly to the hubs, and you set it on a board. And for you guys that are pros, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those that don't know, there is an alignment system. It is, for lack of a better term, it is a professional alignment system. Just like when you take your car, your vehicle in to have it aligned, these vehicles also have alignment systems. Fortunately, Integy makes a decent one that you can get for a reasonable price. I think it's like $100. And I've got a couple of buddies of mine that actually have one, and they love it. They say you don't need to spend the crazy amount on some of the other ones that you see out there. The Integy one is phenomenal. So that's the one I went ahead and ordered. And I have several other Integy products, and been very happy with them, so I'm not worried about that at all. So we'll be going through the tweaking process on this. The other thing that I did was I went ahead and finished the cutout for the, if I can get that on there with one hand. There we go. The cutout for the body. Went through and just tweaked all the little areas that needed to be trimmed and tweaked and cut it, and cut. Had to cut around the battery to get the battery. There are apparently there are bodies that you can get that accommodate around the frame here, but I wanted to use the stock one. I can always get another one, but I'll be sending this off to Mr. Custom Paint. You can find him on Facebook, by the way, Mr. Custom Paint. I'll be sending this one off to have him paint up the body and the wing, and get that the finalization on that. Other than that, the car has proved to be quite a joy to put together. Small challenges here and there, nothing really worth writing home about, but for the most part, an absolute joy to build. Been very happy with the quality of the Tekno build. The hop-up parts were worth, to me, they were worth the extra money. All the carbon fiber stuff, the aluminum upgrades, titanium upgrades, so on and so forth. It's proving to be quite a beast. So, from Coffee Shops and Toys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you like videos like this, and you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to us, and hit the notification bell that's down at the bottom there. And when I post a new video, you'll get an alert. And if you have any questions, comments, you want to yell at me about something, you think I've done something stupid, or you have a question pertaining to the build, I'd be more than happy to answer and respond to all of your questions and comments. Until our next video, from Coffee Shops and Toys, have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.